All right, I am reading. I forget what the number of the chapter is. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Chapter 11, I think, if I counted right. Elderew. This is where he is now in the river country. He just spoke with the river master. I've got this all in a playlist. If you'd like to begin from the beginning, if you're clicking on this video, um, the playlist will be in the description below, along with playlists of other things that I'm reading on my channel: the Impersonal Life, the AD&D module Pharaoh, along with my D&D novels that I have narrated on my channel. If you're a fan of fantasy, these are fantasy novels. They are D&D in story form. This is book 2, and I've narrated them on my channel. I have 2 fantasy short stories that are a little more adult themed, if that interests you. They're in playlists as well. I'll put some of those playlists in the description below for you. And this is a fantastic book. If you've never read it, I highly recommend you buy it. You're probably only going to be able to get it on Amazon. I don't think you'll find it in the bookstore, which is unfortunate, but you know. His Sword of Shannara novels will be in bookstores probably. This thing should be in it too. There are 6 books. I might read all 6 again. I don't know, but I don't know if I'll read them on the channel because there's very little interest right now. We'll see. I'm not really sure. But I'll try not to comment, and I'll talk afterward. I would love to hear feedback from all of you. What do you think of the story? Do you like the way I'm reading it? Is there any suggestions that you'd like to make? I don't think I should try to do voices. I do voices in my narration more in my second book because I got a little better with voice acting. I got a little better with how to make their voices sound. With Sheila and the Dungeon Master, I got Sheila's voice down where I liked it. Not as much in books 1 and 2. A little bit. I started to do it more in book 2. Sheila is in all of that. So anyway, so I don't think I'm going to do any voice acting here. Like I say, I do it a little in book 1, more in book 2, and I think you'll enjoy it. I hope you listen to it. If you like this, I'm sure you'll like my books. I'm sure you'll like my narration of them anyway. All right, Elderew. The River Master did not know a way to keep the dragon out of the greensward. Now, that is how he just asked. That's how the last chapter ended, didn't it? No one did, so far as he knew. Nightshade might, he speculated as he guided Ben back through the grove of elm and into the park with its children. The Witch of the Deepfell had magic more powerful than that of any other creature in the valley, although even Nightshade had never dared offer challenge to Strabo. Strabo. I like that name for the dragon, Strabo. In any case, Nightshade would never agree to help him, even if she had the means to do so. She had always hated the kings of Landover because they commanded the services of the paladin, and the paladin was more powerful than she. Times change, Ben thought dismally. There were the fairies, of course, the river master added, almost as an afterthought. The fairies had always been able to control the dragons. That was why the dragons had fled from or been driven out of their world and come over into the valley. But the fairies would not help Ben either. The fairies helped no one, unless it was their idea first. They stayed within the mists, hidden in their timeless, ageless world, and lived their own lives according to their own rules. Just checking the way this looks with my light especially. Ben could not even go to them to ask their help. No one ever went into the fairy world and came out again. Oh, that's interesting. I forgot about that because I've read this just recently. I finished reading this. They walked down together through Elderew, the river master describing the history of his city and its people. Ben wondering he was ever going to make a success out of being king. I think they meant was he ever going to make. I don't know how they meant to write that. but it says, oh no, I totally misread that. Ben wondering, I don't know how I misread that. Okay. Ben wondering how on God's green earth, or this one for that matter, he was ever going to make a success out of being king. Boy, I really just don't know what happened there. The afternoon slipped away. While the city was a marvelous and exciting creation, the tour was wasted on Ben. He listened dutifully, commented in all of the appropriate places, asked the proper questions, and waited with a saint's patience for a chance to excuse himself. The chance never came. Dusk settled, and the river master deposited him at his lodging for the night. Wow, they spent the entire day together. I forgot that. A ground-level cottage with several open-air porches and walk-ups. Boy, I want to live here. Secluded gardens and an impressive stand of Bonnie Blues. Overhead, the brightly lighted tree lanes of the city spiraled through the mist of the forest roof in arcs of hazy gold. Laughter and light banter echoed through the shadows. For some, the day's work was finished. Ben trooped into the cottage, the daylight fading quickly to nightfall behind him, the rivermaster's promise of an evening of celebration hanging over him like a pall. The last thing he felt like doing was celebrating. The others of the little company were waiting for him as he entered. He gave them a cursory hello and plopped down in a comfortably cushioned wicker rocker. I struck out again, he announced wearily. Quester took a seat across from him. He refused his pledge, High Lord? More or less. He promised to give it only after I found a way to put a stop to the pollution of the valley by the others who live here. I have to extract their sworn vow to work with the Lake Country people to keep the valley clean. I warned you he would be difficult, High Lord, Abernathy declared triumphantly. Ben glanced over. He remembered his scribe's admonishment somewhat differently, but there was nothing to be gained by arguing the point. I think you have done rather well, High Lord, Quester informed him, ignoring Abernathy. Ben groaned. Quester, please. I am quite serious about this, I assure you, the wizard added quickly. I was worried he would refuse you unconditionally. He was loyal to the old king, out of a sense of respect for the monarchy that had governed hundreds of years and out of a desire not to provoke trouble by refusing how do you pronounce that word? Obeisance? Obeisance. Obeisance, I guess. But the Lake Country people have never truly had a sense of belonging. There has never been an acceptance of them by the others. The rivermaster said something along those lines. Why is it such a problem? Quester shook his head. Mostly it is a lack of understanding. The people of the Lake Country are fairies, and they command magic. The others in the valley do not and never will. The people of the Lake Country chose self-exile from a world viewed by most as perfect, a world that is timeless and changeless, a world where one can be immortal. The people of the Lake Country live differently from the others, and their conception of life's priorities is different. All of that breeds mistrust, jealousy, envy. Envy, a lot of very destructive emotions. There is another side to the story, of course, Abernathy interjected from behind Quester. The people of the Lake Country have always had difficulty associating with the others of Landover. They remain aloof for the most part, arguing that their values should be imposed while they as a people remain apart. They rail against the others for spreading sickness and blight through poor management of the land and waters, yet they stay hidden within their mist and forest. Sorry. Ben frowned. Is the pollution they complain about really that bad? Quester shrugged. Bad enough. The lords of the Greensward strip the land for their fields and livestock and hunt the forests for food. The trolls mine the mountains north for ores, and their smelts poison the streams that feed the valley. Others contribute their share as well. It is difficult to accommodate everyone, High Lord, Abernathy added quietly, eyes blinking thoughtfully beneath his shaggy brows. Words of wisdom. Ben found himself thinking suddenly of the life he had left behind him in Chicago. The more things change, the more things stay the same, he muttered. Quester and Abernathy looked at each other. High Lord? Quester asked. Ben rose, stretched, and shook his head. Forget it. How soon do tonight's festivities commence? Quite soon, High Lord, the wizard replied. A bath, High Lord? Abernathy asked quickly. A change of clothes? Both. And some ideas, if anyone has any, and how we can go about pleasing everyone long enough to persuade them all to acknowledge the damned throne. Bunyan and Parsnip hissed and grinned eagerly from across the room. Ben gave them a dark look, started from the room, then stopped. You know, I wouldn't mind tonight so much if I thought I could find a way to change the Rivermaster's mind, but I don't see it happening. He paused, considering. Still, how much time do I have to work with? These celebrations usually last all night, High Lord, Quester replied. Ben sighed wearily. Terrific, he muttered, and left the room. Quester's prediction proved to be right on target. The celebration began shortly after sunset and lasted until dawn. It was ostensibly, when do these people sleep? It was ostensibly held in honor of Landover's visiting High Lord, but Ben was left with the distinct impression that the people of the Lake Country would have been willing to hold a celebration for almost any reason. Certainly neither pace nor order, orchestration nor duration was in any way dictated by him. Boy, would I like to be able to live like that. Just party for the sake of having a party. Celebrate life all the time. Living in nature. My God, what could be better than this? I'd rather be these people than the lords of the greensward. I don't know about you. This is the way to live, man. This just makes so much sense. Sad we can't all live like this, because we could. Well, maybe not all. The festivities began with a processional. Ben was seated in the amphitheater with the members of his little company, the Rivermaster and his family, Willow among them, and several hundred others, as children and young people with torches and colored banners streamed through the open quarter section and circled the arena in a kaleidoscope of color and light, singing songs as they came. Concentric circles formed and turned slowly about one another, and the cheers and shouts of the people gathered lifted in appreciation. See, I don't remember reading this. Music from flutes, this I remember, flutes, horns, stringed instruments, and pipes rose from a band of players gathered directly below where Ben sat. And you know what these people aren't doing? Making money. Money doesn't exist in their world. Isn't that interesting? It's the key to making paradise on earth. I'm convinced of it. Just got to get rid of money. The music was high and lilting, whisking the processional along, increasing its tempo as the minutes slipped past. Soon the broad concentric circles dissolved into smaller wheels, and the marchers became dancers who spun and whirled in the grasses, torches and banners fluttering above them as the music quickened. Wine and ale passed freely about the arena and the amphitheater seats above, and all joined in the clapping and singing. The sound rose to echo through the great forest trees of Elderew, filling the night until no other sound could be heard. Mist dissipated, and the moons of Landover filled the skies, bright spheres of color that hung suspended like oversized balloons. Streamers of rainbow light filtered down through the trees to mingle with the fire of the torches and cast back the shadows. Ben quickly gave up looking for an opportunity to talk further with the Rivermaster about pledging to the throne. No one was interested in doing anything except having a good time. The singing and shouting drowned out all efforts at normal conversation, and the wine was consumed with a speed he found astonishing. He accepted a glass warily and as a courtesy, and found it quite good. He drank another because what the hell difference did it make? Then several more. In no time at all, he was 3 sheets to the wind and having one hell of a good time. Quester and the kobolds drank with him, seemingly as relaxed as he, and only Abernathy abstained, muttering something about wine not being good for animals. Soon they were all singing and clapping, and it didn't really matter what the singing and the clapping was for. This sounds like a scene out of my second book, honestly, the Magical Forest. Chapter 19, for those of you interested. I think it's chapter 19. The river master seemed pleased that Ben was having such a good time. He came over often, his chiseled, expressionless face flushed and dark eyes bright, welcoming Ben once again to Elderew, wishing him well, asking if there was anything he might need. Ben was tempted to give him the obvious answer, but held his tongue. The river master clearly meant well, and the merriment was infectious. He had not enjoyed himself this much since long before he had come into this strange land. The night slipped on, the festivities grew heightened, and the people in the amphitheater seats began to pour down into the arena to mingle with those, another typo, who had made up the processional. Strange how they don't fix those typos in books like this. They have to edit this stuff. How do they miss it? The singing and dancing became more frenzied, the fairies of the lake country flitting through the shadows and light, as if they were yet the magical people they had once been. Frenzies, fairies, okay. I'm just checking what I just said there. The river master took the hand of one of his several wives, a slender river sprite, and pulled her after him toward the field. He called to Ben and the others, to the members of his family and to his people, to join him. Most went. Ben rose, hesitated, looked back to where Willow had been seated, found her gone, and sat down again. What was he thinking? What cause had he to celebrate? The wine's effects wore off with astonishing swiftness as he faced the unpleasant truths of his efforts at kingship, and he lost his taste for celebrating. He rose again, still unsteady, excused himself hastily to the others, and hurried toward the closest amphitheater exit. Abernathy came after him, but he sent the scribe scurrying with a sharp admonishment. Sprites, nymphs, kelpies, naiads, and pixies milled past him, dancing and singing, caught up in the spirit of the celebration. Ben brushed quickly past them. He had had enough of people for one day, and he wanted to be alone. Shadows closed about him in the tunnel beneath, and then he was back in the forest. Lights winked from the tree lanes overhead, and the sounds of the celebration began to diminish. He pushed ahead into the dark, anxious to be returned to his lodging and to be away from the festivities he had abandoned. His stomach churned with the wine, and suddenly he was sick at the pathside. He straightened, waited for his head and stomach to clear, and went on. When he reached the cottage, he climbed the walkway to an open-air side porch and slumped down in a high-backed wicker chair. "Aren't you wonderful?" he congratulated himself. He felt depressed and discouraged. He had believed so strongly in himself in the beginning. He knew he could be king of Landover. He possessed intelligence and ability. He was compassionate. He had experience working with people, and he understood the application of laws in society. Most important of all, he needed this challenge, and he had thought himself ready for it. But all of that seemed to count for nothing in the greater scheme of things. His progress toward gaining even the minimal amount of recognition a king required had met with no success whatsoever. Just a lot of conditional bargains. The old king's closest allies had rebuffed him. The others had ignored him. He had lost the services of the king's protector, now become something very much akin to a ghost haunting a deserted house, and the mark in his demons were footsteps creeping up on him with the passing of each day. He stretched and stared out into the night. Well, what the hell, he thought obstinately. Nothing at stake here but his self-respect, was there? Nothing at stake here but, you're right. All he had to do was use the medallion and he'd go back to Chicago. $1 million lighter, but safe and sound. He had failed before at things. That's right, the 10 days have passed, so now if he takes off the medallion, he loses everything. He goes back home. He has to stay for a year. He can't leave. I'm assuming he can leave after a year, but I don't remember if there's anything talks about that, or if it happens in book 2. He had failed before at things, and he would undoubtedly fail again. Face it, this might be one of his failures. He played with the idea in his mind a moment, then found himself thinking of the faces of those few who had come to his coronation. The farmers and their families, the hunters, the ones who still looked for a king they might believe in. Too bad for them, of course, he thought, wondering, even as he did so, how he could be so damn flip. So maybe you're not so wonderful after all, he muttered wearily. Something moved in the shadow of the trees close beside the porch, and he jerked about. Ben? It was Willow. She slipped from the trees and came toward him, a ghostly figure in white silk, her green hair shimmering in the light. She was like a bit of moonlit mist crossing a midnight lake, ephemeral but impossibly beautiful. She came up to him, the silk hanging close against her body. I followed you, Ben, she told him softly, but with no apology in her voice. I knew you would tire and come to sleep, but do not sleep yet. Come first with me. Come with me and watch my mother dance. He felt his throat tighten as she neared him. Your mother? She is a wood nymph, Ben, so wild that she will not live among the people of Elderew. My father has never been able to bring her to him, but the music will draw her, and she will yearn to dance. She will come to the old pines, and she will look for me. Come, Ben, I want you there. She came onto the porch, reached down for his hand, and stopped. Oh, your face. You have been hurt. He had almost forgotten the beating Kallenborg had administered. Her hand touched his forehead softly. I did not see your injuries at the Erlin. Here. She swept her fingers swiftly about his face, and at once the pain was gone. He could not hide the astonishment in his eyes. The small hurts can be healed, Ben, she whispered. The ones that can be seen. Willow, he began, I will not ask you to come away with me again, not until you are ready. Her fingers lingered on his cheek, warm and gentle. I know who you are now. I know you to be of another world and not yet at peace with ours. I will wait. He shook his head. Willow, come, Ben. She grasped his hand firmly and pulled him from the chair. Come, hurry. She led him from the porch and into the trees. My mother will not wait. Ben no longer thought to resist. They ran into the forest. She, a vision of something he had not believed could exist, and he, the shadow she drew after her. They darted through the trees, his hand in hers. And soon he was hopelessly lost and did not care. The heat of her touch burned through him, and the need for her began to grow anew within him. They slowed after a time, deep in a woods become misted and shadowed far beyond that of Elderew. The sounds of the celebration still echoed through the trees, but distant and soft. Colored slivers of moonlight slipped downward from the forest roof and dappled the earth like paint spots. Willow held Ben's hand tightly in her own, the warmth of her like a fire that drew him. The mane of her hair from her forearm brushed against his wrist like corn silk. She crept now through the trees and brush, soundlessly skirting the giant sentinels and their offspring, a bit of fragmented night. Then the hardwood trees gave way to pine evergreens that were giant and aged. Willow and Ben pushed through their needled boughs, and a clearing opened before them. There Willow's mother danced in a prism of colored moonlight. She was a tiny thing, barely larger than a child, her features delicate and fine. Silver hair hung below her waist, and the skin of her slender body and limbs was pale green like her daughter's. She was clothed all in white gauze, and a radiance emanated from her that seemed born of some self-generated inner light. Spinning and leaping as if she were driven by a madness peculiar to her alone, she danced through the moonlit clearing to the rhythm of the distant music. Mother, Willow breathed softly, and there was excitement and happiness reflected in her eyes. The wood nymph's eyes met her own for just an instant, but she did not slow her dance. Willow knelt wordlessly at the clearing's edge, pulling Ben down gently beside her. Together they sat in silence and watched the phantasm before them do magic. How long she danced and how long they watched, Ben did not know. Time seemed to come to a standstill in that clearing. All that had troubled him on his return from the amphitheater lost significance and was forgotten. There was only Willow, and he and the lady who danced. He felt them made one by the grace and beauty of that dance. He felt them bond in a way he did not understand, but desperately needed. He let the bonding take place. Is that let? It looks like fet. He let the bonding take place. I'm gonna go with let. And he did not resist, because I don't think fet is a word. And he did not resist. Then the dance was finished. There was a sudden stillness, a hush, and it seemed that the music had ceased to play. Willow's mother turned for a fleeting moment to view them and was gone. Ben stared, hearing again the music of the celebration, but the wood nymph had disappeared as if she had never been. "Oh, mother," Willow whispered, and she was crying. "She is so beautiful, Ben. Isn't she beautiful?" Ben nodded, feeling her small hand grasping his own. "She is very beautiful, Willow." The sylph rose, drawing him up with her. "Ben," she spoke his name so softly he almost missed it. "I belong to you now. High Lord and the daughter of fairies, we shall be one. You must ask my father to allow me to go with you when you leave. You must tell him that I am needed, for I truly am, Ben, and when you have told him that, he will let me go." Ben shook his head quickly. "Willow, I cannot ask for—" "You are the High Lord, and your request cannot be refused." She hushed him, a finger resting on his lips. "I am but one of my father's many children, one whose mother will not even live with the man she lay with to give me birth, one whose favor in her father's eyes varies with his moods. But you must ask for me, Ben." Annie's face flashed in his mind, a counterpoint to the fire that this girl kindled within his body. "I can't do that. You do not understand the magic of the fairy people, Ben. I see that in your eyes. I hear it in your voice. But Landover is the heart of that magic, and you must accept what that means." She released his hand and stepped softly away. "I must go now. I must nourish in the soil that my mother has graced. Leave me, Ben. Go back through the forest. The way will open up to you. No, wait, Willow. Ask for me, Ben. My father must give me up." Her delicate face lifted to the colored streamers of moonlight that bathed the clearing. "Oh, Ben, it is as if my mother were all about me, wrapping me close, drawing me to her. I can feel her still. The essence of her reaches to me from the soil. This night I can be with her. Leave now, Ben. Hurry away." But he stood rooted before her, stubbornly refusing to do as she asked. Why was she insisting that she belonged to him? Why couldn't she see that what she was seeking was impossible? She spun in the clearing's center, beautiful, sensuous, delicate. He wanted her so badly in that instant that tears came to his eyes. "Willow," he cried out, starting forward. She came out of her spin and faced him, feet planted firmly in the clearing's earth, arms raised skyward, face lifted. Ben stopped. A sudden radiance began to emanate from the sylph, the same radiance that her mother had given off while dancing. Willow shimmered, turned transparent in the light, and began to swell and distort. Ben shielded his eyes, dropping to one knee in shock. Willow was changing before him, turning into something different entirely, arms and legs darkening and turning gnarled, sweeping outward like a canopy, splitting and lengthening. He blinked, and Willow was gone. A tree had taken her place. It was the tree from which she took her name. She had become that tree. Ben stared. He felt a wave of shock and repulsion wash through him. He fought to deny it, but it would not give way. She had said she would nourish in the soil. She had said she could feel her mother reaching up to her. My God, what manner of being was she? He waited for the answer to come to him, a solitary figure in the mist and shadows of the forest. He waited, but the answer would not come. He might have waited there all night if Bunyan had not appeared, stepping suddenly from the trees to take his arm and lead him away like a disobedient child. He went with the kobold without argument, too stunned to do anything else. Conflicting emotions raged through him, battering him. Willow was so beautiful and vibrant, and the need for her within him was impossibly strong, yet at the same time he was repulsed by her, a creature who gave every appearance of being amorphous, who could become a tree as easily as a human. He did not look back as he left the clearing. He could not bear to. He was too ashamed of what he was feeling. He pushed his way through the ancient pines, trailing after Bunyan in silence. The kobold must have followed after him, he realized. Quester or Abernathy must have sent him. They were taking no chances after his disappearance at the Irulan. He wished suddenly that they had not found him that night. He wished that he had disappeared. He wished 1,000 other things that might have happened and now never would. The journey back was a short one. The others were waiting for him at the cottage, anxious looks on their faces. They sat him down and gathered around him. "You should have told us of the sylph, High Lord," Quester said quietly, after exchanging a few brief words with Bunyan. "We could have warned you what to expect." "I warned him once already that the people of the Lake Country were not like us," Abernathy advised, and Ben didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Quester hushed the scribe quickly. "You have to understand something, High Lord," the wizard went on, turning back to Ben. "Willow is the child of a sprite and a wood nymph. Her father is only half human. Her mother is less so, more a part of the forest than a part of man, an elemental who finds life within the soil." This is one of the coolest characters in fantasy I've ever read about. Willow is just incredible. What an incredible character. The child of a sprite and a wood nymph, her father is only half human, her mother less so, more a part of the forest than part of man, an elemental who finds life within the soil. Something of that was passed on to Willow at birth, and she requires the same nourishment. Yeah, I've got a really great girlfriend. She's gorgeous. It's just sometimes she turns into a tree. She needs the soil. Oh, she is a changeling. She owes her life to both plant and animal forms. It is natural for her to take the form of each. She could be no other way. But it must seem strange, I know, to you. Ben shook his head slowly, feeling some of the conflict within dissipate. No stranger than anything else that's happened, I guess. He felt sick at heart and weary. He needed the sleep. Quester hesitated. "She must care deeply for you." Ben nodded, remembering. "She said that she belongs to me." Quester glanced quickly at Abernathy and away again. The kobold stared at Ben with bright, questioning eyes. Ben stared back. "But she doesn't," he said finally. "She belongs to the Lake Country. She belongs to her family and to her people." Abernathy muttered something unintelligible and turned away. Quester said nothing at all. Ben studied them wordlessly a moment, then climbed to his feet. "I'm going to bed," he announced. He started from the room, and their eyes followed after him. Then he stopped momentarily at the doorway to his bedroom. "We're going home," he told them, and waited. "Tomorrow, at first light." No one said anything. He closed the door behind him and stood alone in the dark. The next chapter is a crazy title. I believe that's pronounced Go Home Gnome. Boy, oh boy. Just when you thought you heard it all with Willow. Yeah. What a great story. Willow is such an interesting character. There's something about her that just makes you feel the love that he's feeling for her, the attraction, the desire for her. He brings on this sexuality without doing anything sexual in the book at all. Nothing. And yet you can feel the sexuality in that whole scene and the passion, and I'm not even sure the word I'm looking for, because it's not, it's kind of lust, but not really. He's enthralled. He's enraptured with her. And how could you not be? But then he was repulsed when she turns into a tree. I'm just like, yeah, we can't be together. I'm just like, wow. And what a wild creature. And So the river master is married to multiple women, and this one stays away. She stays in by herself. Oh my God. And there was talk of making this into a miniseries or a movie. I want a miniseries. I want this as a miniseries. This is a phenomenal story. The knowing that the next chapter is called Go Home Gnome makes you, what the heck? No, so it's gnomes, and whether it's telling the gnomes to go home, is that what it's, because that's what it sounds like to me. Go home gnome, go home gnome. So they're hated. I'm trying to remember what I first thought when I saw the title of that chapter. It was something to that effect. But wow, you must ask my father to let me come with you. Yeah, that's it's wild. Anyway, what do you think? What do you think of the story so far? Are you loving it as much as I am? In the same ballpark? What? Any ideas? Any questions? Love to chat with you. Hope you check out my D&D novels. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And there are fairies in book 2. I don't think there are any in book 1. And there is singing and dancing, celebrations. There's no sex in my novels. Nobody has sex. There's no swearing, unless you consider hell and damn to be swear words, and bitch. I guess bitch could technically qualify as a swear word. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back again maybe tomorrow or the next day for the next chapter. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.